Hello, this is my presentation on differentiating for all students. The first document that I'm going to evaluate is the PowerPoint that I actually used for my online lesson. I would use this with my fifth grade class as we begin our decimal unit. And so going through, I used a lot of fonts, but I tried to choose fonts that were easy to read, that would be accessible for pretty much everyone. Um, I tried to put some graphics in, and if the student's using a screen reader, it might not totally read like this number line and what is going on, but I would prefer to narrate the PowerPoint and use something like Screencast-O-Matic and um, attach this to Google Classroom or something that the student could go through and I would be the one narrating and explaining things rather than relying on the screen reader to do it. Um, Going through, like I said, I just put in basics that I want them to remember. And then I have some practice, and I have this configured that when you're in the slideshow viewing section, that there's some wait time, and then when you click, it'll highlight the correct answer. And then the same with this one, that number 5 is not visible until you click. And so it would allow students to think and come up with their own answer and then reveal the correct answer so they can kind of self-check. I have practice problems that I would have the students in my classroom answer on the whiteboard, and I could do the same thing in the online environment, allowing them to write on the whiteboard or respond in the chat box or even just raising their hand and giving me the answer. So I tried to make it pretty easy to read, pretty user-friendly, not a lot of extra words, extra information. I would use my own narration to further instruct from here. The other document I wanted to take a look at is actually a science lab sheet that we would use. And so it starts out here with the beginning of just following the directions and telling them what to do. And this definitely could be moved to an online environment, just changing, finding a dusty spot in the classroom to finding a dusty spot in your house. But it pretty well spells out the exact instructions for the student to be able to follow. And then down further, I have questions for them to respond to. And I provided space for them to write in, no lines, so they're not confined to certain parameters. But I think the screen reader would read this pretty well, and the student would be able to understand what they're supposed to be answering, what they're supposed to be doing. I did note it just says in a few days. I would probably put some specifics here so that the student knows exactly what I'm looking for. And I feel like it would be pretty straightforward for all users to be able to read this, understand it, work with it. It is something I would do as a partner activity if possible. So either having a parent help the student if it's an online environment, or in my traditional classroom, we do it in pairs. And so they're not working by themselves. They can definitely bounce ideas off of one another and just help to provide some support that way as well. on page 221 of the book by Rice, it says about allowing a parent or a classmate to act as the student's scribe. And so if writing is a difficulty, they could definitely have their parent or their partner write this. They can also, like, I would upload this to Google Classroom or whatever we're using, and they could just type in what they are able to describe for each of the answers to the questions. And for the drawing portion for number 6, they could easily just put something else there, or I could just take that away and they wouldn't be required to do that portion. So that is my review of 2 of my documents. Thank you for listening.